YouTube, what is up? It's your boy Anamar Sports here, and today we are going to be looking at the first division in the National League, the best division in my opinion, at least at the top. That is the National League West. Now, the National League West is a very interesting one with a very top-heavy two teams in the Dodgers and the Padres, but there are a few things to look forward to for the other teams. Not as good as the Padres and the Dodgers, but we'll get into that in just a second. Now, before we get talking about these teams, you know what to do. Check the links in the description. Follow my Twitch. We talk about baseball, MLB hot takes, things like that. If you want to post a specific hot take, throw it in the Discord. We got MLB hot takes, MLB cold takes, MLB the show info, all sorts of things like that. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter for some updates. And yeah, I think that's all we got. Let's head right into it, starting off with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, the Arizona Diamondbacks were one of the worst teams in all of baseball after having playoff hopes at the beginning of the year. I saw a lot of people who thought the Diamondbacks were a legitimate wildcard seed in the playoffs before the season started last year. But my God, did they not live up to anywhere near those expectations. Madison Bumgarner was terrible. Ketel Marte wasn't playing great. They ended up trading Starling Marte. Just an all-around bad year for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, with that being said, they do have a New Year's resolution, and that's basically going to be to produce. I really don't know where to go here from here for you guys. You don't have a whole lot of young talent in that minor league system. So realistically, you're going to need guys like Ketel Marte to be playing at MVP level again. You're going to need guys like David Peralta to come through, Christian Walker, maybe even see a little bit of a resurgence from Madison Bumgarner. That could be helpful as well. But overall, you need some of those guys to play well so you could eventually maybe trade them, get some prospects back, and do sort of a rebuild. I really don't know where to go here from here for you guys, so I'm just going to say produce, try to value some of that trade stock for guys like Ketel Marte. So you can make some moves. Now, it's not like the Diamondbacks have the worst farm system in all baseball. They do have 4 prospects in the top 100, but none of them are in the top 20 or top 30. You have the 39th ranked prospect in Christian Robinson. They also have the 45th in Alec Thomas, and then 2 other guys towards the bottom of the top 100. But they do have a little bit of prospect capital there. They really need to start making some moves, though. Maybe Ketel Marte could be on the trading block as soon as next year if he can continue to produce. Maybe trade deadline deal to get some of that young talent back for them. So we'll just have to see what the Diamondbacks end up doing. Probably going to be sellers sooner than later. But if they could produce a little bit in 2021, maybe upgrade their draft stock, that'd be very helpful to them. Now, for the Colorado Rockies, your New Year's resolution, you're actually going to kind of have a 50-50 one here. You could do one of 2 things. You could go all in right now with the core you have right now, or you could focus on youth and start trading some guys. You could probably get a big return from Nolan Arenado. He has a big contract, but teams like the Dodgers seem to have some high interest in him. Maybe the Mets. There's a few other teams, of course. Trevor Story has some trade value. You could trade him now if you want. Obviously, he's a stud. He might be the kind of guy you want to sign long-term and build your team around. But they only have 1 prospect in the entire top 100 of MLB baseball right now. So they pretty much have no future as it stands. They got young guys on their squad like German Marquez and Trevor Story, like I mentioned. But Charlie Blackmon's getting up there in years, and Nolan Arenado is in his prime. So you really have to make a decision right now, Rockies. Are you in or are you out? You go out and sign a guy like Trevor Bauer, maybe sign some pitching, which is kind of hard to do in Coors Field, I know. Or you could just sell the farm, basically sell the entire squad, trade them for some top prospects and see what you could do. I know for a fact you could get Joe Adell or Brandon Marsh from the Angels for German Marquez. That's definitely an option if you want a power hitting outfielder there. But I digress. You do you. Like I said, focus on youth or go all in. You really have 2 options at this point this year. Now, the Rockies did have a pretty bad 2020, all things considered. Charlie Blackmon turned into Jesus Christ for a month. He was absolutely ridiculous. Nolan Arenado, though, had kind of a down year, and Trevor Story was phenomenal. So you're really going to have to see. Nolan Arenado's trade value might not be as high this year as it would have been in previous years, but he's still got elite defense, and he's got a great bat to go along with it. But there are some rumors going around that he could not be as good as outside of Coors Field. He might not be the kind of player that he's been inside Colorado. So, like I said, they have an option of being good next year, but in a stacked NL West at the top, I don't know if you're going to beat the Dodgers and the Padres enough to either win the division or maybe even sneak into a wild card spot there. So, in my opinion, you should sell everybody, start trading for some top prospects, Joe Adell, and yeah. Get that farm system ready to go, maybe contend in a few years down the line once the Dodgers have cooled off a little bit. Now let's hop into the San Francisco Giants. The San Francisco Giants' New Year's resolution is going to be about development. Now, they need to develop young guys. They have a few prospects in the top 50. Their best one being Joey Bart, a catcher who is the 11th ranked prospect in all of Major League Baseball. This guy's a stud. He can hit, he can field, he can do it all. And with Buster Posey's veteran leadership around him next year, hopefully, assuming Buster Posey does come back, it could be a really good thing for Joey Bart and his development. Kind of like how when Mike Trout came up, he had Albert Pujols around, kind of on a different scale, but Buster Posey was a former MVP as a catcher, so he could be a really good influence on a guy like Joey Bart. We also have Helio Ramos coming up. Now, I don't think the Giants have quite the pitching staff and the bullpen to make a playoff run next year, especially with the stacked division. I think I've said that with every team so far. Kind of these three bottom teams in the Giants, Rockies, and Diamondbacks don't really have much of a chance to compete next few years because of how stacked these Padres and Dodgers are, and stacked with youth, so they're going to be good for years to come. So if you want to make a push here, you might want to not really rebuild next year, just be a year focus on development. You know, throw some of these young guys in, see what they can do. Mike Yastrzemski is an absolute stud. If you can get Joey Bart to live up to some of his potential he's doing, and then Helio Ramos coming up, you could definitely have quite an interesting year next year. Not really playoff aspirations, but, you know, it could be an exciting year for Giants fans, looking at the youth of their organization coming forward. All right, let's hop into the real reason you clicked on this video, of course, with the San Diego Padres. Now, the San Diego Padres have been going absolutely insane this offseason with acquiring Blake Snell and Yu Darvish. They have one of the best pitching prospects in all of baseball. Mackenzie Gore should be making his way up either next year or the year after. They had two MVP candidates last year in Manny Machado and Tatis. Now, neither one of them won it, but they were both in the top 10, if I am not mistaken. Tatis is possibly the face of baseball who had a breakout season last year, and if he continues on that kind of rampage and Manny Machado plays up to his pay grade, and all those pieces around them come together, they could really be a force to be reckoned with. Now, a lot of guys on that team kind of have sketchy track records. That's the only thing I'm going to point out. I know you guys want me to be an optimist with this team, but I'm just being real here. Blake Snell was a Cy Young in 2018. He had his ups and his downs. He didn't have a great 2019. Last year, they were kind of limiting his innings, so he looked a little better, but we weren't sure what would happen if he pitches late into games. Yu Darvish is kind of the same way. Potential Cy Young Award winner last year. Didn't quite get it, but he pitched like it. He's had a few seasons in his career where he's had an ERA hovering around 4. So we're really going to have to see which Yu Darvish, which Blake Snell, which Fernando Tatis, which Manny Machado, which Eric Hosmer, Will Myers, Trent Grisham, which of these guys are going to show up next year. So we're going to have to see. Now, with that being said, the odds of every single player that they have not playing at least decent enough to get them to a playoff spot is absolutely ridiculous. I'll agree with that. That's a freezing cold take. So at the end of the day, second place team in the NL West. Let's get into the first place team. Now, the undisputed best team in all of baseball, the LA Dodgers. My God, this team is absolutely phenomenal, up and down. Let me get into a few stats right here real quick. Los Angeles Dodgers last year led the entire major leagues in runs per game, home runs, runs scored. They were top 5 in on-base percentage, OPS, OPS plus, slugging percentage, and just to add on to that, their pitching staff led the league in ERA, led the league in ERA plus, gave up the fewest runs, and just all around, it was absolutely amazing top to bottom. Their starting rotation was great. Their bullpen was great. Their lineup 1 through 9 was great. Their defense was pretty good. There really isn't a weak spot on this team, and they have still have studs in the minor leagues. It's absolutely insane. They got a new stud closer potentially in Brusdar Graterol that they stole from the Red Sox. Not even stole, the Red Sox gave it to them. Just an all-around team that you don't want to mess with, but I didn't even talk about their New Year's resolution yet. There's really one thing they can improve on next year, and that man goes by the name of Cody Bellinger. Now, Cody Bellinger, MVP in 2019, 2020, what the hell happened? He just did not have a great 2020 season, did not produce. I don't know if he got a little shy around Mookie Betts or what happened, or maybe I saw he changed his swing up a little bit. So whatever he did last year, it was not working. Get back to those 2019 mechanics. I want to see Bellinger and Christian Yelich going after that MVP race again, and then have Mookie in that. What a hell of a MVP race we could be in for. So that is the Dodgers' New Year's resolution. Get Cody Bellinger up. Max Muncy could also improve a little bit, and they got to figure out who's going to be the third baseman next year. Now, realistically, they're so good. They're so stacked. They don't even need to sign a third baseman. They could just bring up Gavin Lux, put him at second base, or put him at second base and then maybe move Max Muncy over to third and have Cody Bellinger play first. There's so many options they could do. They have such a stacked team, and definitely the best team in baseball, in my opinion. Still the best team in the NL West. Sorry, Padres. You're going to have to do a little bit more to prove to us that you are better than the Dodgers next year. Now, that is going to do it for us today. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching and all the support on the channel. We just hit 120 subscribers, so be sure to hit that sub button. Drop a like on this video if you enjoy it. It helps the algorithm so more people will see it. Drop a comment if you think that I'm talking facts or if I'm spewing some bullshit here. I just want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you got. Put it in the Discord if you got a hot take or a cold take, something like that. Thanks again so much for watching. You have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you guys in the next one.